Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our very first webinar with our new technology partner, JourneyApps. This webinar is being recorded and it will be made available to those who registered and attended. And just as a reminder, if there are any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to reach out to us via either the Q&A or the chat bubble. Both of those are down at the bottom of your screen, and we'll be sure to get those questions answered towards the end. I'm joined today by JourneyApps CEO, Conrad Hofmeyr, to discuss how JourneyApps helps industrial companies deliver enterprise-grade custom apps in rapid timeframes. Welcome, Conrad.
Thanks, Amanda. It's great to be here, and we're very excited to be working with AppIt.
Great to have you here, Conrad. And we're also joined by Jason Bordelon, a Senior JourneyApps Engineer, and he'll be helping us out with demoing some of the functionality that we'll be discussing today. Welcome, Jason.
Thanks, Amanda. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. Let's get started. So in terms of the structure of today's webinar, we'll have three parts. First, what we'll do is we'll cover the unique functionalities developed by JourneyApps to meet the needs of a wide variety of industrial use cases. Second, we'll dive into OXIDE, which is the next generation development environment from JourneyApps. This has been built to supercharge developer productivity, and it's the thing that we're personally very excited about here at AppIt. And then finally, we'll summarize what all of this means for AppIt clients, existing JourneyApps customers, and those that might be considering this platform, and then how these people can take advantage of our partnership. So let's go ahead and jump in. The first part of the webinar is all about specific functionalities developed on JourneyApps to cater to what we describe as industrial use cases. It could be good to explain what we mean when we use the term industrial. Conrad, can you help us clarify?
Sure. Yeah, we use the term industrial to refer to companies in segments like high-tech manufacturing, oil and gas, chemicals, mining and metals, and heavy construction, to name a few of those different sectors. Generally, companies involved in some form of manufacturing, installation, or service. So, for example, a company manufacturing or servicing industrial cooling equipment used at a data center or an X-ray machine used at a hospital. So focusing on these segments has allowed us to build an app development platform that solves the big and unique challenges of delivering custom apps for field workers in those industries.
Great, thanks, Conrad. So this part of the webinar is really all about exploring how JourneyApps solves those big problems of delivering custom apps for use in the field. But before we get into that, perhaps you could touch on why these companies have a need for custom apps in the field in the first place. Why would you say a manufacturer of oil field equipment or medical equipment needs custom apps to be used in the field?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the realization that this need exists was the reason for our genesis as a company. And the answer is that over the last number of years, companies in all industries have realized that transitioning to digital business is a strategic imperative. And when we looked at the different types of companies that wanted to digitally transform, we realized that this would be harder for some of them than for others. So if you take, for example, companies that have mostly office-bound employees who use a computer at a desk, for example, insurance companies or banks, if you compare them with industrial companies who often have workers out in the field, often in very harsh conditions or remote locations, it's clear that those companies in the industrial sectors face a totally different reality. And there's a massive opportunity for those industrial companies to digitize and automate their work. And many of them are still using forms, paper forms and Excel spreadsheets out in the field. They can certainly get huge efficiency gains by digitizing their work processes. If you look at just one industry that's going through a difficult time right now, the oil and gas industry, the energy research firm Rystad Energy estimated that they can save $100 billion through digitalization. So huge efficiency gains that can be reaped, but it's not just about efficiency. They can also unlock strategic competitive advantage. For example, they can give their customers real-time visibility into what is happening with the operation and service of their assets in the field. And if they don't digitally transform their businesses, they would be left behind by competitors who are successfully digitally transforming. But the thing is that digitizing and automating field work is really difficult for industrial companies because of those unique challenges that we mentioned earlier. So I can expand on those a little bit just to give you an idea. So some of the things that make it uniquely challenging for industrial companies is, they are very engineering centric. Their work is often very data intensive. Due to the the complexity of the equipment that they manufacture and service, and the work that their engineers have to do out in the field. That's very complex. So typically they have to deal with complex data structures, complex operational business rules. The work that they do out in the field, that their engineers do on these complex pieces of machinery, is also highly unpredictable. So in the field, things tend to go wrong unexpectedly. This means that they also have to be able to work in a non-linear way, and therefore their apps need to be able to accommodate this. They also often have highly distributed operations. So their workers often work in remote locations where they regularly may not have any internet connectivity. So all of these complex data operations and complex business logic needs to be able to work completely offline without a hitch. And then due to the nature of their businesses, they tend to very often have highly complex and highly customized backend ERP systems. So that typically requires highly customized integration. And that's not even to mention the fact that that integration needs to work offline, whether the user is offline or online, which makes it even more challenging. And then lastly, they also sometimes have to interface with hardware protocols and industrial Internet of Things or IoT systems, which can also get quite complex when you get into all those different protocols. So I guess the simple answer to your question is industrial companies have a strategic need to provide digital tools that connect data from field workers with back office processes and systems, and doing so is uniquely challenging for them.
Great, thank you, Conrad. Well, now that we've addressed the need, I think it's really important that we discuss the challenges that go into delivering a custom app to be used in the field, because as you and I know, those challenges are many. I really love how JourneyApps has worked to address those unique challenges, and I'd really like to hear more from your perspective.
Right, and this is also where we can bring in Jason, who's going to be doing live demos of some of these functionalities for us on the platform today. So I think that's going to be great for everybody to see. The first one that I want to start with, I mentioned that industrial companies often have a very distributed workforce, and they have people that often have to work offline. So the first one that I want to start with is offline data sync. So that's a need that we see that comes up over and over again. Many of our customers have employees conducting work on sites that don't have any internet connectivity, whether through Wi-Fi or cellular networks. For example, we have customers who find themselves servicing pumping equipment in a gulch in North Dakota. We have customers who find themselves installing microwave communication equipment on a cell tower in the Rocky Mountains. We have customers who find themselves performing work in a blast-proof chamber in a factory in Houston. We have customers who find themselves repairing medical equipment in the basement of a hospital in New York. I can go on and on. And a lot of these, a lot of the other app development platforms that are on the market, they often say, oh, our apps can work offline. But if you actually look into it, you realize that there's a whole spectrum of offline functionality. Most of the offline functionality in other platforms is very limited in scope and capabilities, in fact. And industrial companies have some of the most demanding needs when it comes to offline. They actually have to move complex data sets between the field and the cloud, in both directions. So for example, if they're conducting a job in the field, they may need information about all the labor assignments on that job, the parts and materials, the maintenance procedures, the install-based configuration. They also may need to sync data about the job estimates to the field that they can access offline, and then capture the job actuals, the actual labor and materials, and then sync it back to the cloud whenever connectivity is available. So it's this complex web of data, this hierarchical relational set of data that you have to move in both directions between the field and the cloud. JourneyApps is one of the very, very few app development platforms that can actually meet that level of challenge. And in fact, based on everything that we've seen in the market, we have the most sophisticated offline data sync that works with zero configuration. And it took us 10 years of R&D to get it to where it is today. It's extremely battle hardened, and it's been proven in the most challenging conditions with very high data volumes. And it's very hard to build something that robust and capable from scratch. And many of our customers try to do it themselves in-house, and then they just hit a wall and they just realize how complex it becomes when you get into all the nitty-gritties, like maintaining data integrity, making it scale by intelligently partitioning the data, all of those kind of things. And that's often a reason for them to switch to JourneyApps, because we have solved that problem. So Jason is going to show us just a very basic introductory example of how that works, which just scratches the surface of the capabilities in JourneyApps, just to give you a taste of how the offline data sync works. So over to you, Jason.
Yeah, thanks, Conrad. So what you see on the screen is an app that will create an asset record whenever I push the button new asset. So just to demonstrate what that does, it'll bring up a dialog. I can capture some information about that asset and a description, a condition if I want, and it'll pop up in that table for me. And then if I change my mind, want to change something, I can always just modify that. So because we're a complete platform, as you can see on the right-hand side, we manage all the cloud infrastructure for all the apps and all the data. That's make it really simple for developers to access it. So if I just go ahead and refresh this view, you'll see that the assets that I've created in the application are now synced with the backend. And while we're doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go offline with my phone just to demonstrate how that practically works. So I'm going to go into airplane mode, and you'll notice this quirk of QuickTime where it doesn't like revealing my internet status or the time. Sorry about that. Or the time. So it looks like it's not telling us the truth. I am in fact offline. And so if I go ahead and I create a new asset while I'm offline, well, first let me just show you. So you can see I don't have any connectivity, and then I'm just going to go ahead, create a new asset. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to do a red one. So you'll see now that when I create that offline, that it's there, it's red, and it won't be on the back end, right? And then I'm also going to go ahead and create a new asset in the back end, so to show that the nature of the sync is bidirectional. So it'll be offline and in the future. So the data structure matches front end and back end. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna go back online. And once the app has the opportunity to sync, you'll see that the asset that I created offline in the back end is now synced here. And also, if I refresh in the data browser, you'll see that what I've captured in the app has now made its way up to the back end. So I know there are probably a lot of developers watching that have built bidirectional sync with more than 0 lines of code. So and this is really exciting and makes it easy. So back to you, Amanda.
Awesome, thanks, Jason. And actually, being a custom development company, we've seen the need for offline as well. And in cases where it is possible to implement some kind of offline functionality, it typically adds significant time to project schedules, and it increases the cost to the order of tens of thousands of dollars. Much like what Conrad had mentioned before, is this capability of offline sync, these guys have dedicated 10 years of R&D to this type of functionality. And asking a custom developer to build this in a single project each time, that comes with cost both on dollars and time. So with that, the time is what really kills some of these projects where getting an app and speed to market is critically important. We're really excited to be able to offer this functionality to our customers as standard. They don't have to be concerned about their apps working offline because JourneyApps provides that functionality out of the box. This is super exciting for us to be able to provide to our clients. So we've got offline covered. What's next?
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. There's so many functionalities that we've built to meet specific needs for these industrial companies building field applications. It's hard to pick a few, but for example, JourneyApps supports a wide range of hardware integrations, including barcode scanners, RFID, thermal printers, and other Bluetooth sensor and measurement devices, including Bluetooth Low Energy devices. So that's something that I'd like us to demonstrate as well. So, for example, we can demonstrate how easy it is to implement barcode scanning functionality in an app. As part of this, we'll see how a change that we make in our web-based development environment, which is called OXIDE, how that is automatically deployed and installed to all installed apps over the air. So there's no need for a manual app update process. So you'll also see that during Jason's demo. So Jason, over to you again.
Thanks, Conrad. So you mentioned OXIDE. That is our fully functional all-in-one development environment. You'll see that's what's on the right side of my screen here. And this is where you'll build screen layouts, update the data model, and build and run integrations. So and we'll we'll get into some of that. So if we do want to create a new asset through a barcode instead of manually entering the serial number like we did now, it's really pretty easy. So we have a pre-built barcode scanning component. So underneath my buttons here, I can just put a scan barcode component, bind the asset serial number, and then repurpose my function for OnScan to be what previously the button gave us. And actually, I'm going to see here. And you'll see that as I type, it's updating. I'm going to choose my my type of barcode. So you can see we support a wide range of those. I'm going to choose QR code because it's easy to generate in my terminal, and give it an asset. So there's some other customizations we can do, some other logic we can bind there, but to leave it there for now, I'm going to go ahead and pull up my QR code that I've made here in the terminal. And so now just make sure I'm synced. There we go. Once I click the scan asset button, it will just use the built-in camera to do a barcode scan. You'll notice that it captured the serial number that you see in the terminal there. And then I can just proceed as I would, as I had previously. And I can always edit these after the fact. But yeah, so there you can see how easy it is just to make something like that, where now you've got an automated process that doesn't count on, that doesn't count on somebody typing correctly. So yeah, that's it, Amanda.
So from my perspective, seeing this happen in a live environment is just music to my eyes. From a custom development perspective, it's incredible how quickly you can spin up and test actual functionality. This doesn't happen in the custom development world. Not to say that custom development doesn't have its place, but when we're talking about getting enterprise level field apps to the market as quickly as possible, just seeing this play out is truly remarkable. So this is what originally made me fall in love with the JourneyApps platform. And as we've worked more within the platform, we've only solidified our admiration for what JourneyApps can do for our clients. This is a kind of a nice segue into part 2 of our webinar, which is where we're going to be diving into the OXIDE capabilities. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit and let's talk more about OXIDE, which is this next generation development environment from JourneyApps. It's been built to supercharge developer productivity, which you guys have seen already and with just that small taste from Jason. This is something that we're obviously really excited about at AppIt. And one of the main reasons why is because it gives developers a way to control all aspects of the apps they build from a single place. So our clients often have requests for fairly urgent updates that need to be implemented as soon as possible. OXIDE allows our developers to turn those requests around quickly because they can easily log into the relevant organization within OXIDE, select the right application, and get to making that update. Conrad, can you tell us a little bit more?
Sure, thanks, Amanda. Yeah, we're very excited about OXIDE's ability to be a game changer for custom app development. With traditional development tools, just setting up your dev environment can take hours. Typically this involves choosing a code editor or an IDE, setting up local testing environments, setting up a local database and populating it with data to work with your project. All of these elements of your development stack need to be compatible with each other and your operating system. And troubleshooting an install or configuration error can lead you down a Stack Overflow rabbit hole. And then you have to keep maintaining it as you keep updating your operating system. So one of the great things about OXIDE is that, and with the whole JourneyApps platform, is that everything is browser-based. So OXIDE is actually one of the most sophisticated web IDEs that has been built yet. It's an all-in-one integrated development environment that runs in your web browser, and none of those problems that I previously mentioned exist with OXIDE, of course. So you simply log in and you have a full stack at your fingertips. So this means that developers can access their specific OXIDE organization from any computer with an internet connection. There's no installation required. And from the moment they create an application, it's ready to run on any operating system as a native application. It has built-in cloud backend that's ready to conform to whatever data structure you need. So Jason, why don't you give us a little bit of a tour, just show us around OXIDE a little bit.
Yeah, sure thing. I can vouch for what you said. I just reinstalled a fresh version of Mac OS last night, and I spent hours getting everything set up to work properly, from Homebrew and Terminal and everything else. Anyway, so yeah, going back to OXIDE, if we look at the different tabs, first tab is the overview. So that's where you'll have your README and your developer docs just right at hand as well. You can configure languages and other things and customize this view. Next is the data model. So this is where you define the underlying data structure of the application. So you can do it here. You can also access this via a sidebar shortcut here from other tabs if you want to, say, update the data model while you're coding in your views. And then you have your views tab. So far I've been showing you XML, coding in XML with the help of some autocomplete and syntax completion, but we also do have a visual editor, which we'll be going into a bit, that you can use as part of this in the views tab. And then there's Cloud Code. So Cloud Code is where you can build and run your serverless integration tasks, create your custom REST APIs, migrate data, and so forth. And you can see that it can be executed from the web, from an external webhook, from an application or an identity provider for integrating your single sign-on. So that's really powerful. And then there's your assets tab. So there you can put your various assets that you use. For instance, if you look at the phone, that's where I've stored the logo that I'm using for our demonstration app, and it just can pull through automatically. Then there's your deployments tab. So this is where, if you want to create a new deployment, you can just press the plus button, create your staging or your production environment, and then also look through your deployed logs. So if you just want to see, I've been doing a lot of work apparently. And then there's your settings tab. So this is where you can do things like redefine your shortcuts, your code theme, and a lot of other stuff. There's a lot here, probably a webinar on its own. And then lastly, which we have seen, is the data browser, where you can view and audit all of your data. So just a quote from a developer in our OXIDE beta program. He said, "One of the most useful things about OXIDE is not having to use multiple browser tabs, not having to have multiple windows. Everything is there at your fingerprints." And I think, Amanda, that really sums it up as to some good validation of what we're trying to achieve with OXIDE.
Oh, totally. Thanks, Jason. Well, we're really excited about the increased project development speed that OXIDE provides for our clients. A big part of the ROI calculation that our clients typically make around is how long it will take to get a working app out into the hands of the people that need to use it. So usually if it's going to take too long to deliver an app, it's often not worth the effort. With OXIDE, we can provide our clients the peace of mind that their apps will be built on a battle-hardened app platform that has many technical challenges already solved out of the box. That's usually one of the main reasons why customers choose to build custom anyways, because they want to make sure that they can provide a quality application that's going to function properly when it gets to market. But with JourneyApps and OXIDE, we can provide both of those benefits and the speed. So that means that developers can focus on the functionality that is behind the need for the app and not the technical plumbing that's working in the background. One of the ways that OXIDE and JourneyApps in general allows developers to increase their development velocity is the fact that they only have to develop an app once, and the platform will take care of working across different end user devices. Conrad, can you give us a little bit more of an overview on how that works?
Yeah, sure. So, apps that work cross-platform is an increasingly common need amongst our customers. This is because our customers often have different groups of app users working on different devices and operating systems. They may, for example, even have a bring your own device policy at their company. So for example, one of our customers is an industrial manufacturing company, and they needed to roll out an app in multiple countries in multiple languages. And they had different user groups of users that were using different devices. Some had iPads, some were using Android phones, many were using laptops running different versions of Windows. And normally as a developer, you would have one of two options, broadly speaking. You can either build separate apps for the different operating systems. That means you have to put in a lot of duplicate effort, of course. You have to employ different skill sets. You have to maintain different code bases. So there's a lot of pain and effort that goes with that. And the other option is to build a responsive application, cross-platform application that adapts to the different operating systems and form factors. And that's a very complicated endeavor in itself, and also very difficult to debug, as I'm sure AppIt is very familiar with. But luckily with JourneyApps, apps automatically run on all these different operating systems and screen sizes and form factors. So there's no additional development work required. The apps are completely responsive with a single code base across all of the different devices and operating systems. So Jason will take a minute to show this to us as well. So back to you, Jason.
Yeah, so, great thing is as you can see here, I've got this running on a few different platforms. So one is mirroring through QuickTime. So this is my on my iPhone on the left. This is actually running the application in a web browser in front of you, and you can see that the breakpoints and columns have been handled appropriately. Then there's my macOS version, which is, which the nice thing, and one of the ways we're able to do this is also responsive, and there's no extra code to make it collapse when appropriate, and et cetera. So you'll never have to worry about scrolling points and things like that. And then it's also running on my iPad. Reflector's messing up the colors. I assure you the fidelity is correct on my side. But you can see how it works the same across these platforms without any custom development. I can just use it as normal. So you don't have to decide what you want to do, what type of app you want to build, and if it needs to go from desktop to field, that's no problem. So I personally like this because it makes you look really good without doing a lot of work.
So, of course, Jason, as a developer, the big challenge to custom apps is not only the effort of building the app for different operating systems and form factors, but really it increases your support costs and the cost to maintain the application moving forward. This is a big reason why it can get so expensive and time consuming to build and support enterprise custom apps. Conrad, I feel like you have some thoughts on how JourneyApps addresses this problem.
Yeah, for sure. And this is also an opportunity for us to show you how JourneyApps comes with a rich and sophisticated set of pre-built UI components that are automatically responsive across all the different operating systems and form factors. So for example, let's say part of the evolution of a custom app during the support and maintenance phase is to add a table to the application. So let's say you're a medical company that wants to show an inventory of available parts using a table. So Jason can show us what it looks like if he wanted to add a table to the application, or another table, I should say.
Yeah, sure. So you can see the app running in web and also on my phone here. And so say you do just want to, that is a pretty frequent request. So let's add a table for something. So I'm going to use our visual designer to do it this time. I'm going to insert the table here. And when I do that, it's also going to ask me, which model I want to link that table to. And so I'm going to use the inventory model, and you'll notice in the actual XML that it's gone ahead and filled in all the attributes of that table, which is really nice. So if I go ahead and refresh all my various operating systems, you'll see that the data is now there in the table. I can obviously, if you look at the other table, further customize that. But you can see there it exists on the iPad, as well as once I update my web app, and also on my Mac OS, which is here. There we go. So yeah, so there you have it. You know, we can obviously configure this with filters and styles and other things like we have in the table on top, but just to add that in is not even one line of code.
Great, thanks guys. So I'm really excited about us showing what the platform can do and also showing the impact on reducing ongoing support costs. I think this is another segue into what does this partnership mean for AppIt clients and JourneyApps customers? So this is the final part of the webinar and perhaps the most important for our audience. What does this mean for you? When we announced our partnership in early May, we explained that our aim was to help companies accelerate the delivery of mission-critical business applications. Conrad, from your perspective, how will our partnership benefit JourneyApps customers?
Yeah, our customers often need to bolster their development capacity to implement critical new features or overcome their app backlogs or take on new projects based on new initiatives that are requested by the business. So the partnership with AppIt allows those customers to contract a proven team that can hit the ground running. So the fact that there's an expert team that's already trained on JourneyApps that's just waiting in the wings for whenever a customer needs to call for backup, that's a major benefit to our customers. And I know that AppIt has an excellent track record in delivering sophisticated custom apps, and that you all truly care for your customers. And that's why we're really excited to have formed this partnership with you.
We do. Thanks, Conrad. And the value that our partnership brings to our existing and prospective clients is immense. So AppIt's known for building or giving unbiased guidance on technical decisions. And usually that guidance is based on finding the most efficient and the most cost-effective way to achieve a business outcome. Our desire to quickly launch a solution that yields a strong return on investment is only enhanced by our partnership with JourneyApps. For one thing, as I've touched on before, the groundwork laid by the JourneyApps platform reduces significantly the complexity of building custom apps and allows our developers to deliver projects in shorter timeframes. For our clients, that means a shorter time to market, getting to that crucial point where apps are rolled out and delivering on return on investment sooner. Another benefit for clients is knowing that their custom app will be built on a proven platform used by Fortune 500 industrial companies across the world. That peace of mind is big when considering the cost that app downtime can have when it disrupts operations. And then there's also the pure monetary benefit of reduced development costs, because some of these functionalities, as you guys have seen, are pre-built and developer effort can be reduced. This can really tip the scales in favor of going ahead with a project now, as opposed to waiting in a subsequent budgetary period. Finally, and this is probably the biggest one on my mind right now, the reduced maintenance and support burden. This has a massive effect on total cost of ownership. Not only does the platform allow much of the maintenance burden for custom apps to be eliminated, it opens the possibility for clients to do basic maintenance and enhancements themselves, as opposed to contracting a third party. So you guys are seeing, as a client, you're seeing cost savings during the development, and then you're seeing cost savings and additional flexibility during maintenance and support, which is basically a dream come true. So with that, you guys, Conrad, Jason, thank you guys so much. This has just been, it's always so nice to see the actual live environment and to hear from you guys really what's driving all of the benefits for our customers. We've kind of wrapped up our presentation content, so if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to switch to Q&A if you guys are good with that.
Yeah, that works for me. It looks like we have a few questions. The first one, I think, is for me: can multiple people work in OXIDE at the same time? That's a great question, because we actually have live co-editing that works pretty much the same as Google Docs. You can see what your coworkers or your collaborators are typing in real time, which is a really cool feature. Yeah, so the answer is yes.
And I'm sure, Conrad, too, especially during these times where we're not in the office physically with each other, the thing I like about OXIDE and being able to have almost like this Google Docs version of developing an application, creating the space for collaboration when you're not physically sitting next to each other, that to me seems like kind of a fringe benefit that we hadn't previously considered up until these days.
Yeah, and even more relevant now with everybody working from home, for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it looks like the second question is, how does pricing work with the platform? So Conrad, I feel like your answer is simpler than mine. Do you want to tackle that first?
Yeah, sure. We have 3 different plans that have different levels of functionality. There's a pricing page on our website that goes into detail on what those different plans are and what their capabilities are. And there's basically, a tiered structure based on the number of users that you require. That's the number of app users. There's a monthly fee associated with that, and you can see some of the ballpark pricing on our website. So it's pretty straightforward.
Great. So in addition to the license pricing through JourneyApps, you have the pricing for the custom development that AppIt would do on the JourneyApps platform. And just like with pure custom software development, our pricing is heavily dependent on the scope of the features that our clients look to us for. So unfortunately, you are going to have to talk to either myself or someone from our sales team. But what we'll do is we'll help guide you on what those pricing impacts are for each feature request that you have, and really point you in the right direction for making that decision. So I think the next one, oh, Conrad, you've got one. When does OXIDE officially launch?
Yeah, so OXIDE has been in a customer beta program for the past month or two. 5 of our major customers have been using it over the past 2 months before we get ready to officially launch it, and the feedback has been really, really positive. And the official launch is going to be at the end of this month, so then it will be publicly available to all our customers.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so question towards me. Can you tell us more about how AppIt can support developers who develop their app in-house? And what kinds of services can AppIt offer ad hoc? So as it relates to JourneyApps, one of the reasons why we're excited to step in and help some of the JourneyApps customers on the platform is we're able to step in and work alongside developers on an as-needed basis. So a lot of times clients that have just minor requests, they can work with us on a time and materials basis where you're just paying for every hour that we work. And especially as you guys have seen with the collaborative nature of the OXIDE development environment, we're able to easily come alongside in-house developers and kind of tackle that backlog of to-do items just on an hourly basis. If we find in working with our clients that there might be a need for more regular staffing, we can support our clients in more of a retainer type model. Either way, again, it's dependent on the specific needs that our clients have, and then we'll help you design the proper fit for what you're looking for. It's such a pleasure to see you guys. It's great to work with you guys. Being around good people just makes things so much better, and I really, really enjoy working with you guys and your team. So thank you guys. And if there are no other questions, I think we can wrap up and we'll send this recording out, and we'd love to hear from you guys.